Okay, good. So we're the kind of brief session we're recording today is just to give an overview of the practical ethics and responsibility competition that the Oxford Uehiro Centre for Practical Ethics is running again this year. This is our fourth iteration of this competition, and we had a lot of really great entries in the previous three, so we're looking forward to some excellent entries this time around. So in terms of the kind of nuts and bolts of what we're doing, we're inviting, again, student teams of between 3 and 5 people to send us videos of up to 4 minutes in length. The entrants need to be in school years 11, 12 or 13 in England and Wales, S4, S5 or S6 in Scotland, or years 12, 13 and 14 in Northern Ireland, or international equivalent. So if you're not sure whether you fall into this group or your students fall into this group, please do feel free to email me or Liz. So the videos should consider a practical ethics problem. I'll say a bit more about what that means in a moment. And they should also consider the role of responsibility in that practical ethics problem. Okay, so what do we mean by those two things? Well, a practical ethics problem, one way to think about this is kind of what we don't mean. So what we don't want are kind of highly theoretical discussions of philosophical issues like free will or normative ethics. So, you know, should we be utilitarians or should we be Kantians or should we be virtue ethicists? We're really looking for students to engage with a practical issue. So an issue that we confront either individually or collectively in our everyday lives. Right? So there are various suggestions on the competition webpage, which I'll talk about in a moment. So really looking for a practical issue rather than something highly theoretical. Responsibility. So responsibility doesn't have to be the kind of only thing you talk about when you're making your video, but it does have to be a central consideration that you're engaging in when you're making your argument around this practical ethics issue. So it's how does responsibility figure in this practical ethics question? And that can be in a negative sense, right? So your argument might be that here's a practical ethics question where people have thought that people are responsible for something, or one group is responsible for something, but actually you want to argue that they're not, right? But that's still making responsibility a kind of central idea that you're engaging with. So what we want from these videos is not just something purely descriptive, right? We also want an argument. What we mean by an argument in philosophy is that you give us a series of premises, a series of claims that you are making, and show how they support a conclusion that you want us to accept, you want the audience to accept. Again, there are details about exactly how this works on the competition webpage, but again, it might be helpful to think a little bit in kind of contrast in terms of what we're not looking for. So we're not looking for entries to give us, you know, 2 or 3 different ways, different opinions on a problem which conflict with each other, and then just leave it at that and say, well, look, there are different ways of approaching it. We're also not looking for, you know, 2 or 3 different opinions followed by just a statement of what you believe. We have to be able to see how you arrived at your conclusion. So, you know, why do you support one view on this problem rather than a different one? And the way you support that view should be kind of clear and obvious to the people watching the video. We should be able to say, okay, I see how they got from the various places they started at to the conclusion that they're wanting us to accept. So that feeds into the criteria for judging the videos. So the judges will be looking at a set of 4 criteria. And these are, first of all, the argument that you present. So does the argument make sense? Can we see, as I said, how you got from your premises to the conclusion that you're wanting us to accept? And is it a convincing argument? Now, here it needs to be clear. I don't mean, are we, the judges, actually convinced? Do we come to accept the conclusion you're wanting us to accept? You know, we, as professional ethicists, we work on a lot of these issues in our day-to-day work. And so we may have kind of established views on some of these issues, and we're not looking for you to persuade us to completely change our minds. Rather, we should be able to see how it is that the argument you've set out is a convincing one. So it's one where we can say, actually, although I still disagree, perhaps, I can definitely see why someone has arrived at this conclusion, and that's a reasonable conclusion to have arrived at. The second criterion is clarity. So again, is it clear what your conclusion is, right? Could I, having watched the video, talk to somebody who's never watched it and say, I just watched this great video and this is what they were arguing for in kind of one sentence maybe. And second of all, is it clear how all the bits that have come before it, all these premises, are supporting that conclusion? So could I kind of roughly recreate the argument that you've given me in the video against someone who hasn't watched it? Could I say, look, this is how, roughly speaking, they got to where the conclusion they wanted us to accept? Third, we're looking for originality. So originality is, slightly less important than the quality and clarity of the argument, but originality will be taken into account. Are you offering something new or unexpected on this issue? And finally, we're looking at involvement. So are all team members involved in the making of the video? It doesn't have to be in front of the camera, right? It can be made clear at the end of your video how team members who weren't in front of the camera were involved, for instance, in writing a script or helping to shoot the video. But it should be that everybody's been clearly involved. So those four criteria: argument, clarity, originality, and involvement. It's important to note that the first three are, relative to your students, or if you are student entrants, to your stage, right? We're not looking for an argument that we'd be expecting from a professional philosopher. We're not looking for something original in the sense that nobody in the history of ethics has ever thought of it before, right? We're looking for something that, at your level is what we'd expect, or slightly above what we'd expect from people operating at your level. So a few further practical things to consider. Your videos have to be original, right? We obviously will not allow any plagiarism in entrance. Those will be automatically disqualified. Now, of course, there are two types of plagiarism. There's intentional plagiarism. I'm sure nobody would intend to do that. But there's also unintentional plagiarism. So there's taking short clips or ideas and not properly referencing them. Right? So if you're taking clips, you need to make sure that they are that they are covered appropriately by copyright and that you are allowed to use them. Right? That they're things that can be used freely online, because we will be posting winning entries and highly commended entries on our webpage, and we can't do that if we don't have the copyright to show various bits. A tip which not all teams have listened to in the past: if you find your video is over 4 minutes, do not artificially speed it up. Right? It makes it pretty unwatchable for us and really isn't likely to get you a win, even if the content's pretty good. Right? We want the quality of the video matters a little bit, right? We're not interested in kind of high spec technical cameras or anything like that. We're not going to be awarding extra points for interesting special effects, although of course those are very welcome if you want to do them. We're really interested in the content of the video, but if the video is unwatchable from an audience point of view, that's not going to be an effective entry into the competition. There is a web page on the Uehiro Center website that you can go to for further detail. So that the best way to do that, rather than me read out a long web address, if you go to our main web page, which is practicalethics.ox.ac.uk, and then go to the public engagements tab, you'll find a whole range of things we're doing in public engagement, but you will also find the web page for the competition. I think so. The only remaining thing, unless Liz can think of anything I've missed, is just to talk about the timeline. So the competition opened last month, and we'll be accepting entries up until 4 p.m. on the 9th of January 2023. So you've still got plenty of time to make and send in your entries. Entries should be sent to Liz, who will then send you a link to upload them. We'll be announcing the winners and highly commended videos in February. And then the 4 best videos will be invited to take part in our event day, which we're hoping to hold this year, unlike other years, actually in person rather than online, in Oxford. And that event day will be the 21st of March, 2023. So I think that's everything I wanted to say, but Liz, if there's anything else you can think of that I might have missed, which is entirely possible, please do jump in.
Thanks, Ben. I think that's everything. Just to be a little bit pernickety, when you say to send me the entries, if you could email me to let me know that you would like a Dropbox setting up, please do not send me your videos because it fills up my inbox and that makes it difficult for everyone else to send theirs as well. So send me an email to say you're ready. I'll set you up a Dropbox, drop all your materials in there. You have a week to get it in there before the Dropbox expires. Do not worry if the Dropbox expires. I will simply set you up another one if you let me know that's what's happened. And of course, if you'd like to send your videos in before the 9th of January, then that's great for us. It's lovely to have them a little bit early, because towards the end of that period, we do get a lot of emails coming in a little bit last minute. So please do let us know if you've got it ready early.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Exactly. Yeah, just get in touch with Liz rather than sending her your video.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it, I think. Thanks, everyone.